All right, so in this video, we're going to talk about how to help your vocalists set you up for success by capturing their vocals to the best ability that they can using good vocal mic techniques. So I've got a Sennheiser 935 here that we're going to use as our kind of vocal mic. I'm no singer, so I'm going to be doing more talking here, but the ideas and principles will remain the same. In fact, you can even share this stuff with your pastor or those who use them handheld microphones frequently to talk, so that way you can get the best capture of their voices possible. So first off, let's remind ourselves about the proximity effect. So the proximity effect is basically this idea that when you get close to a vocal microphone, there's like this region that's usually about this big where the low end of things gets picked up a lot more than it does anywhere else. In fact, let's listen here. So I'm talking directly into the microphone. You can probably hear a lot of the low end of my voice. But as I begin to pull it away, suddenly it begins to thin out. Not only do I get quieter, but I get to sound very thin, and there's no low end to my voice. Why is that? Well, the geniuses at the microphone manufacturers found out that if they increase the sensitivity of a microphone's low end to be right up front by the capsule, and then it disappears as it fades off, well, all of the low end information that we don't want in the microphone from, say, subs rumbling on the stage or whatever, from the PA system, from the drums behind us, all that stuff gets naturally rejected because it just falls off. We don't have to cut it. Because if we had to cut that, if we had the microphone in our hands here and then we had to cut all that out because it was too much from the drums and everything, well, then there would be no point in having any of that information in the first place, and we would never have thick, warm sounding vocals ever, because they just wouldn't be possible. They had this wonderful idea. Let's take advantage of some science here and actually come up with this way where we can say, hey, if you get real close to the microphone, all of the information is there. It's captured in perfect detail. But if you start backing off, then it's all gone because we're not as sensitive. So why does that matter? Well, if I have the microphone up here, there's a couple things that happens. One, you hear the low end in my voice. What does that make you feel? Do you feel like I have some authority in my voice, like I have some power, like I'm going to lead you into somewhere? Versus if I were to try and lead someone in a song like this or lead them into a motivational speech, I sound far away. I don't sound very authoritative. That's the big difference that we can take advantage of as mix engineers, and the vocalist can take advantage of. The closeness of your voice to your microphone is how much authority and leadership you want to bring into the room. That's a real big thing I think most people don't understand, is that you can use this to lead a room with your voice, but you have to use it properly. Holding a microphone down here doesn't do that. You got to keep it up here. You have to capture your voice. Okay, so we've talked about the proximity effect, right? So how does that work when we're singing? Well, what I like to do personally is tell them, I want your lips on the microphone at all times. And as disgusting as that may be for some people, and as much of a lipstick magnet as these things will become all of a sudden, the reason I tell them to do that is because I know that if they do that 99% of the time, the one time that they do take it off, it's probably not going to be as far away as it could be. I want them to be able to sing into the microphone. I don't want to hear their voice in its full detail. I want it to drown out everything behind them, because my voice, the voice of the vocalist, is louder than everything else because it's so close to the microphone. It takes over everything and nothing else gets picked up. I'm not having to gain the system up too much to be able to hear them because A, they're singing out, they're giving me their full volume, but B, I'm getting nothing but them in the microphone. So everything else behind them just fades away. And then the few times when they do get off the microphone a little bit, it's okay because I have wiggle room with them for that. Now, I like to tell them to keep it on their lips as much as possible without overloading it and making too plosive if you can. If you've got a good microphone that's got a good pop filter on it or a good windscreen, then you're in luck. The KMS 105s we have here do that well. There's other mics that don't do that as well, and that's okay. If that's the case, just work with them on that. Maybe have them kind of put the microphone more in the little tuck of their lip there, between their lip and their chin. And then if they need to, I usually recommend trying to keep it as much of a 90-degree angle as possible so they're singing into the microphone, not over it, not on their nose or singing over it. I see that happen a lot too. We want this to be basically glued to our mouth in this position. And so that way, no matter what we're doing, if we're leading the room, if we're doing anything, we're keeping it directly in front of our mouth. I really don't want to see your mouth. And as weird as that sounds, I really don't want to see it because I want to make sure that microphone's doing its job and capturing your vocal as best as possible. Now, there is some freedom to this. And I know we see this a lot in like the bigger acts that we see on TV, where you'll see someone do a big note and bring it out. Okay. We need to understand that those are very rare instances. They're usually a very rehearsed bit. They're also usually on much bigger platforms and stages than we are. So there's a lot of separation and a lot of room for that. But also, those people tend to have really, really, really powerful vocals that most people, most volunteers in a church don't have. So I still recommend keeping the microphone as close to you as possible. And I recommend this for anybody, whether it's someone who's singing or even a pastor speaking. Keep it near your mouth. Capture the source. Your source isn't here. Your source isn't out here. It's right here.